Hey, I'm YouTube. Welcome back to a new video with Rams fan at YT. In today's video, we're going for Premier League because I don't feel like we have been in present Premier League for quite a while now, and a lot of YouTubers have been doing this recently. So I decided to hop upon the bandwagon, as they say, with the Premier League's most improved player this calendar year. So let's go straight into it with Arsenal. I've gone with Emile Smith-Rowe. I'm very surprised, actually, as last year he was on loan at Huddersfield Town and only really became well known to people outside of Arsenal from the Boxing Day of 2020 onwards, really, and has now made 2 England appearances and scored a goal. I think this just really shows how great Arsenal's academy actually really is. Like, for example, Saka is not that far behind him, and Emile Smith-Rowe, I think people knew about Saka before. They didn't know about Smith-Rowe. Aston Villa, Emiliano Buendia. Many of you may disagree with me, but not many Villa players have actually improved this season since the loss of Grealish, or this year full stop, really. Buendia was meant to come in and replace him, and has taken us a lot of stick for not doing that. However, he is his own player, and we need to remember that. And playing for Villa, they're clearly a better team than Norwich, although you could argue that they're not. If you're probably a Norwich fan, you could probably make an argument. But I think most broad consensus would say that Villa are a better team. And therefore, arguably, his game has improved if he's getting these money. I mean, he was in Championship last year, wasn't he? So it just proves something. Brentford. Ivan Toney. I mean, it could literally be anybody, really, of the Brentford team. But I don't think nobody can really beat him in terms of improvement. I mean, look at where he was at the beginning of 2020. He was playing for the League One club Peterborough. He was then bought by Brentford for only £5 million, with £10 million of add-ons, which probably makes him one of the cheapest bargains in the Premier League at the moment. Maybe of all time, considering that by 2021, he was actually the Championship top scorer and in the Championship team of the season. But even so, that was still in the Championship, and many players still struggle with adjusting to the Premier League. But he scored 3 goals in 10 appearances, and I think he has done things the correct way by getting promoted with the club and playing with them regularly in the top flight. He shows his ability at the top flight quite well, I think. Although some would argue that he should be scoring more, I think he's been done fairly well and justified the price tag. And one day I will guarantee you he will play for England. Probably is one of the backups for Kane, like, I don't know, Dominic Calvert-Lewin is right now, as is Ollie Watkins. I reckon Ivan Toney could be in that sort of question marks. Brighton and Hove Albion. Yves Bissouma. He may currently be on bail and being arrested. Okay, ignore that. But he is just one of many Brighton players to have improved from last season. As when you turn from a struggling Premier League side to a mid-table to top 6 side, they really have all improved. But Bissouma, since the turn of the year, has been immense in midfield, and it was just unfortunate because it was just sort of climaxing to his peak time, but he unfortunately, well, he did what he did, and he has to have the consequences, doesn't he? Burnley, Nathan Collins. Well, in the year 2020, he was a fringe player on the Stoke City setup, only giving 17 appearances, and 2 seasons ago that was, and 27 appearances last season. So he's never really been consistent and with Championship football at that. But this year he has managed to impress enough with Stoke to get to the Premier League with Burnley. And he seems to be performing all right at this level. I mean, Burnley fans, you could tell me if not, but I think Sean Dyche seems to have an eye out for these English centre-backs who would do quite well. And I reckon he is one of them. Chelsea, Mason Mount. Yes, he was good in 2020. You can make that argument all day long that, he's not really improved because he was great in 2020. But his levels have increased in 2021. He became club captain, actually, for some matches, and he has also become player of the season for Chelsea last season, which includes 2021, of course. And he also assisted Kai Havertz's goal to win Chelsea the Champions League this year. He is also on the shortlist for the 2021 Ballon d'Or, as well as scoring his first professional hat-trick this season. So it's all adding up that he has improved levels. I don't know where he's going to go from now, because he's only going to keep on improving. He's still very young, and he's got the world is his oyster, really. Crystal Palace, Mark Guehi. At the start of 2020, he was an under-23s player for Chelsea, but did join Swansea City, where he did great. But a lot of that really was in 2021, and it's a whole another step up really, to be good enough to be a Premier League standard player, which there's no argument he has been. He's made 12 appearances this season, so pretty much playing in every single game. Everton, Demarai Gray. It's often forgotten that Gray is actually only 25 years old. I mean, he seems like he's been around for an eternity. This is entirely based on the second half of the year, really, because he wasn't amazing by Leverkusen. I mean, it was a bit of a shock to all Everton fans and fans of the Premier League that he was even moving to Everton. I mean, he only scored 1 goal in 10 games with Leverkusen. But since this season began, he has become more prolific, really. He scored 3 goals in 7 games, which is a better goal per minute ratio than any of his previous years before him. Leeds United, Rafinha. He didn't even register a goal for Leeds until November 2020. And this calendar year, he scored 10 goals. He's much better than he was last year, whereby he was playing for a French team, and a bit, really, at Leeds, only a tiny bit. So, I mean, most of the Leeds players have improved, arguably, but I think Rafinha is just one of them who is probably the most notable. Leicester City, Wilfred Ndidi. He was injured quite a while, really, in 2020, so it's a bit harsh to judge him with this. But he still played well this season and has been really on a whole other level in 2021. In a recent interview, Brendan Rodgers has called him irreplaceable after rumours that he's going to either Manchester City or Arsenal. To be fair, I could see why. He is that player and that calibre of team, and Leicester haven't really been ripping up any sort of amazing performances this season. But they did win the FA Cup last season, so arguably he was quite instrumental in that. Liverpool, Curtis Jones. One of the players to have stepped up very well in the defensive crisis at Liverpool last season. And he even appeared before during an injury crisis in midfield for Liverpool. So, I mean, they've had a wave of injury crises during the last year and a bit. But he has shown how adept he was. I think he was in defence during Van Dijk's and Matip's injuries. Correct me if I'm wrong there. As well as Henderson's. And he has become more mainstream now, and I think he can only really carry on improving. Manchester City, Jack Grealish. He was not poor last season, but was just a bit mediocre in a mediocre season for Aston Villa, as they finished just above the relegation zone. This wasn't last season, so it was the season before, 2019-20. But he did improve within 2020. But it was really this calendar year that he really stepped up, getting his team really single-handedly to mid-table, as seen by the decrease of Villa since he's left, to be fair. He may not have been great so far with Manchester City, and I hear, he's a waste of £100 million and all that. How can you say that he's the most improved? Well, the truth is, the Manchester City squad was great before he was arrived and probably didn't need his addition. So if you just look at the fact of Jack Grealish improving, it's been a huge step up and he's done all right with it. I mean, he's featured regularly, and so that's got to count towards him somehow, that he has stepped up and managed to get with the first team. He's also been an England regular throughout the 2021 Euros and other international appearances. I don't think he had many appearances to a name before 2021 at all. Manchester United, Luke Shaw. Okay, don't laugh. I can hear the laughs in the comments. But when you think about it, who has actually improved at Manchester United? Nobody. Literally nobody. I mean, Jesse Lingard, you could argue, yes, but he's been awful since the turn of August. And to be fair, people are actually forgetting that he scored the fastest goal in the Euros ever this year. And my basis of Luke Shaw really has come from his time with England, in which he has made 11 appearances compared to absolutely 0 the year before. He still has the same goal output as last year as well, and he looks less defensively assured, but really the whole United squad does. I mean, if anyone can think of any player who's actually improved from this United squad other than the one I've just mentioned, please let me know in the comments, but it's hard to tell. Newcastle United, Joe Willock. Having been pretty anonymous with at Arsenal, and he's still only 22 to be fair, but everybody was raving about him during his loan spell with Newcastle, and he proved to be really successful, having scored 8 goals in 14 appearances. And considering he only had 1 Premier League goal before this against Southampton, I think you've really got to say that, yes, he's improved to the whole other level. He hasn't really started this season this amazingly well, as a lot of Newcastle United fans were really hoping. But overall, 2021 has been much better for Willock. Norwich City, Christos Tzoulis. I think I'm saying that right. At the age of 19, he has obviously improved. He did all right in the Greek League in 2020, but that is the Greek League. No offence to any Greek people, but your league is not ideal. He has scored twice in 7 appearances this season, and we're talking about a diabolical Norwich side, really, that has hardly scored this season. I mean, Pukki's not been ripping up any trees. He's been hardly scoring. So Tzoulis has sort of provided a bit of input, I suppose. I mean, it's hard to see anyone have really improved, have they? Southampton, Valentino Livramento. Who has actually heard of this player? Put your hands up if you've actually heard of this player before this season, right? Before 2021, 2022. No one had heard of him. Maybe a few hardcore Chelsea fans, but that's it. He was Chelsea's Academy Player of the Year last season, but he hadn't made an appearance on any professional competition until this season, where he's made 12 appearances in the Premier League. I think a lot of people have him in their fantasy team. This includes myself. But yeah, he's been great for Southampton this season. He's got a few assists to his name at the moment. Tottenham Hotspur, Brian Gill. Last year, he was relegated with Eibar in a pretty shoddy side, and was also at Leganes, who are equally bad. To take this step up to a Tottenham side that isn't firing on all cylinders. I mean, just look at the result against the Slovenian team. Sorry to bring that up, Tottenham fans, but that has to be done. And he's made 12 appearances so far, and he does look a decent player. And he also looks like a member of the Beatles. I'm convinced of it. Watford, Ismail Assar. Yes, he was good in 2020, as we all probably expected. But he scored 13 goals last season, including 1 that sealed their promotion. But he's continued where he's left off, scoring 4 goals in 11 matches this season. And we know how large that step up to the Championship is. That's why there's so many yo-yo clubs between the 2 leagues. And this is really a testament then to Sarr that he has managed to take this step up. West Ham United, Declan Rice. He may have been Ham of the Year in 2020, but it was even better that he has performed very well in Europe, which he wasn't doing last year, as well as appearing consistently for England, having made 14 appearances this calendar year. Every season, he almost seems that he couldn't get better, but he just does, doesn't he? He just goes and gets to another level. I mean, he'll eventually peak, and he may even be hitting his peak now, but I think certainly we are seeing the best of him at the moment. Wolverhampton Wanderers, Pedro Neto. He was injured last year, and since the new year, he has become one of the best young players of the Premier League. He scored 5 goals as top scorer last season, and he's improving every season at Wolves. And is one of the few players who has actually improved since they finished 7th place 2 seasons ago. I mean, you've got to look at the end of 2019-20 is when you're looking at these benchmarks. So he has improved. So thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe if you're new around here. That would be hugely appreciated. Got another history of your club coming up on Monday. For those regulars, you'll know I regularly do these. And this is a history of Cambridge United. And then on next week on Friday, I'm going to do how good was your manager actually as a football player, and does having a good manager relate to being a good player have any relation to being a good manager? So goodbye for now.